Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. So today we're going to talk about one of the Start Collecting boxes, or I guess the Battalion boxes coming out alongside Broken Realms Bellicor. And there is a box set for the Seraphon. Now, what exactly we get in this box set? Well, let's talk about it. Because you actually only get two different kits in this box set. You get three giant monsters. This, for me, is one of the coolest box sets I think I've seen come out. It's right up there with the IDNF Deepkin Shark one. So what you get in this is you get two Stegodons and a Bastillodon. Now, this is great because the Stegodon kit itself has a ton of options. You have the options for unmounted Stegodons, Engine of the Gods. You also have the options for heroes on top of those Stegodons as well. Potentially a Stegodon Chief on the Stegodon as well, which can be really cool. And you've got the Bastillodon, which has a couple of different loadouts. You've either got the giant snake shooting machine or the laser beam on top, the giant diamond you see there. Both are very decent options. I think with this box set, you've got so much to play with. You've got some fantastic models. And what's great is this is almost 1,000 points in of itself. And with a little bit of tweaking, it can actually be a full army list. So what we're going to look at today is we're going to be looking to make a Thunder Lizards army, which is going to allow us to take Stegodons as battle line, and we're going to look to have a Stegodon hero leading our army. We're going to really look to do a Monster Mash army and show you how to build a Monster Mash Seraphon army, which can be really good on the table. So let's get cracking into that and let's look at how we can build these monsters up to be awesome. We'll look at how we can expand upon these kits already. I'd recommend building them up like we have on the picture here. Like you can see, you've got a Bastillodon. You can pick either variation of that really, but you want one normal Stegodon and you want a Stegodon Chief as well. So let's get looking at how to expand this. And so where do we go to next? Well, I think the obvious thing is maybe purchasing some more monsters. Another Stegodon to fill out that last battle line option and really just crank you up to that 2,000 points is a very decent option all in all. You can also pick up another Bastillodon. Bastillodons have the advantage of being cheaper and they may allow you to play with a few extra points in your 1,000 point list, though you might be struggling to get everything in there, including some battle line. Speaking of battle line though, Skinks are a decent battle line option for you. At 60 points, they can fill in some gaps really easy and might be able to help you fill in some different armies and get some bodies on the table. Now, what's great is everything in the Coalesced or the Thunder Lizards variants of Seraphon gets -1 damage on them. So this means things like Skinks become a lot more resilient as they're all effectively 2-wound models against damage too. It can really turn the tide. The amount of times -1 damage just makes you wither things that would otherwise wreck your units is massive. Lastly, we have the Carnosaur, who is an amazing monster. While he's probably not as defensive as the Bastillodon or even the Stegodon really, he does have amazing offense. This monster will go in and tear it up with the big boys in the game if you can build him up right. There's a bunch of stuff in Thunder Lizards that can make Carnosaurs really great. Now, speaking of this, I do think that both the Start Collecting boxes for Seraphon, both the Start Collecting Seraphon and Start Collecting Skinks, are really great places to go get some extra models. I mean, you can look at this, the Bastillodon and Skink come in the Start Collecting Skink box, and the Carnosaur comes in the Start Collecting Seraphon box, which has a bunch of Saurus Cavalry and Saurus, all of which are great in any Coalesced army. There's a bunch of different things you can do with Seraphon, and really with this box set and the current Start Collecting boxes, I think you've got almost a 2,000 point army sitting there waiting to be built once you've got everything from the 3 boxes. Like, that's a very legitimate way to get a quick and easy and pretty decent army on the table. But what we're going to do next is we're going to look at how we can put all of this into practice. We're going to write a sample army list together and talk a little bit about it. And so here we have a sample army list. I'm actually going to show you 2 sample army lists because I think there's some significant differences between them in what we can do. First of all, we're going to show you the one where you only need to add a single model to the box set you've already gotten. And that is another Stegodon model. So this army is going to be Coalesced Thunder Lizards, as we've already said. It's 970 points. There's nothing else you can do with it really to bring it up. So you're going to get a Triumph. Reroll saves would be a really good Triumph to have, or even reroll wounds or hits. Any of them really work when you're doing monsters. But for our leader, we're going to have a Stegodon on Skink Chief. He's going to be our general. He's going to have the command trait Prime War Beast and the artifact Fusil of Conflagration. Now, both of these are the things we have to take due to being Thunder Lizards. Now, what Thunder Lizards gives us is all our monsters have an extra 2 wounds. We also have a command ability that our hero can use to allow monsters to shoot an extra time. So it can be really good with the Bastillodon when he's potentially got the laser beam on top, or the Stegodons where they've got the giant bows can be really good with this as well. Or even an extra shot if you're running into a horde can be really good with those giant blowpipes, or what are they called, bolt spitters now. Now, Prime War Beast adds one to the attack characteristic of the General's mount. And this is all weapons, so that's pretty cool. Stegodon's obviously got its bite and its crushing attacks. And then the artifact of power is just a bit of mortal wound damage, which is nice. There's not a lot of that in this army really other than that. So then we've got 2 Stegodons. And I guess the issue here comes down to, what do you want to do with those Stegodons? Like, we've got the 2 different weapon variations for the Stegodons, and they both do very different things. So to start with, let's have a look. They both get meteoric javelins, which are pretty much some inconsequential shots from the skinks on top. But then we've got the Sky Street Bow, which is a 24-inch range, so it's a really decent range. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s to hit and wound, -1 rend, and flat damage 3. This is pretty cool. But then you've also got the Sunfire Throwers, who only have an 8-inch range, and then you roll a dice for every model in range of the weapon from the unit you target, and on a 5+, it's a mortal wound. So they're both pretty cool. I think in smaller games, it might be worth having one of each and being able to use them as different sort of offensive weapons in your arsenal to go and do different jobs across the table. The real question for me comes to, how are we going to equip that Bastillodon? Now, we have the 2 variations for me, and really, I think in Thunder Lizards, there really is only one way, and that is with the Solar Engine, or as it's known, the Laser Beam. This is the Giant Crystal variation. So it's got a 24-inch range, and at its maximum power, it has 9 attacks. So what you can do with this is you can shoot twice, and it's damage 2, so it's -1 rend, damage 2, like, if you can shoot twice, that's 18 shots. That means you're going to get 9, 6. It could do quite a decent amount of damage, especially if you're getting some rerolls on there from a hero nearby or even a triumph, which you're potentially likely to get with this army. The Ark of Sotek has its own thing where it does a combat attack instead, and you get a certain amount of attacks. It can have 18 attacks in combat, which is pretty decent, and it does mortal wounds on a 6. So there's some variation, but I think really to make most use of the command ability for our Thunder Lizards, you're going to want that Solar Engine on that Bastillodon for this variation of the build. What we're going to do is we're just going to look at the army list slightly tweaked a little as well. So this is a slightly different variation of the list. It's still using those 3 monsters of the general core, but we've traded around that extra monster for some skinks and a Star Priest. Now, you do have the option to go with 2 units of 20 skinks if you're really wanting just to get some numbers on the table, and I totally think that is a viable option, but we've also got the Star Priest in there. It's pretty easy to get him in as well, and really you can go any of these variations. Now, what the Star Priest does is he allows those skinks to inflict some mortal wounds. So what this can free up is it can allow you to not only have bodies, but potentially mean your other Stegodon can have its giant bow, and then use the skinks as the mortal wound output across the army. So he's also a wizard as well, so it's going to add a little bit of magic to your army, and he's got a -1 to hit spell, which is always nice to have. And he's got his own little shooting attack as well, which is pretty okay. Skinks themselves as well have their own variation of weapon loadouts. You can have either meteoric javelins, which have an 8-inch range, they're 5s to hit, 4s to wound, or bolt spitters with a 16-inch range, but they're 5s and 5s to hit and wound. For me, I generally do think that the bolt spitters are better, especially in this. It's going to give you extra range. It's going to allow your skinks to not go into combat, and just in general do their own sort of thing. Now, you do have a bunch of different things that we can do with skinks as well. Some of the other heroes you can get are pretty darn cool. We've got the command ability from a Skink Priest if you choose to take him instead of a Star Priest. You can add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by that unit, which is pretty cool. And you've got other options. You can always drop your skinks down to 10 as well and choose to go something else in the army as well. I mean, that would mean you have 90 points to play with if you drop 10 skinks. There's a ton of options you can do with this, and all of it's really going to be pretty cheap. I mean, once again, you could pick up that Start Collecting Skink box and make this list in addition to the box you've already picked up, and you'll have spare Bastillodon as well, so you can try both variations of Bastillodon if you wish. But what did you think of this box set? Let us know in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to hear everyone's thoughts. Are you picking up this box set? I know a lot of my local friends are all picking up this box set. They're really keen. I mean, if you're collecting Seraphon, this for me is the army to collect Seraphon for. I love the monsters in Seraphon. Who doesn't like dinosaurs riding other dinosaurs? Well, thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by coming and joining our Discord server, which you'll find a link to in the description of the video. While you're on YouTube as well, go check out my featured channel section, which contains a bunch of other fantastic Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from battle reports, tactical videos, lore videos, painting tutorials, and more besides that. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to James, AJC, JC, Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, Chaos Spawn, James Crowder, and Andrew Bowen. Thank you all so much for your support. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by clicking once again on the links down in the description of the video to either YouTube members or Patreon. Thank you all for supporting the channel though, watching the content. Have a nice day, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.